Hello, my name is Mandy Beale and I'm one of the Outgoing 601 administration team members. I first joined 601 in 1990 and I remember buying my brother Rob a 601 membership the year before for a birthday present. So in 1990, both Rob and Mandy, his then girlfriend and now wife, and myself went to our first full convention weekend in Portmeirion. We'd all been to Portmeirion many times before, but never during a convention. I remember how excited we were as we made our way to Portmeirion in the car, and as we entered the village, we were in absolute awe, seeing it all laid out with the chessboard, all the village props, and especially the red and white striped banners around the gloriette columns. Well, we were blown away. Now, I know the use of the word blown away is a bit of a cliche, but it was truly amazing. You suddenly felt like you'd been transported back to the mid-60s when the series was filmed. It was the best weekend ever. We were 30-somethings acting like teenagers. It was brilliant. We attended every 601 convention in Portmeirion throughout the 90s, and they were equally special and enjoyable. During this period, there were many local 601 groups all around the country, and we had our own local group in Shrewsbury. Many 601 members from our local group regularly attended conventions, and towards the end of the 90s, we were regularly contributing to the event with films and quizzes and things like that. At the beginning of 2000, my brother Rob and good friend Jeff was approached by 601 to take on editing and producing the Society magazine, which was to be renamed Free for All and became known fondly as FFA. Also around this time, our group was approached to take on the organisation and staging of the annual 601 Prisoner Convention held in Portmeirion. So having agreed to this, we organised and ran our very first convention the following spring in 2001. I think the general thought amongst us was we would do, say, a couple of them, and then probably another 601 local group would come along and take it off us. Unfortunately, this never materialised, and 20 years later, well, here we still were. I was officially invited onto the 601 administration team in 2004 after being involved in helping to organise and run the previous conventions. So, as well as being on the 601 administration team, I've also been very heavily involved in all aspects of the convention organisation alongside Rob, Mandy and Debs. I roughly worked out recently that between the four of us over the last 20 years, we have freely given around 25,000 hours of our spare time helping to run the society and organise and stage conventions in Portmeirion. And that is a conservative estimate with a small c, and it's very likely to be much more. You certainly have to love something very specially to dedicate that amount of time to it, for sure. I think us living under 2 hours away from Portmeirion has definitely helped as well. Each year, for example, we would make the shortest trip to the village around early February to carry out a recce for the upcoming convention. This proved invaluable to us on many occasions, and we were able to check everything out, particularly if there were any maintenance works planned or in progress at strategic points in the village. This allowed us to plan around things and get over any hurdles in advance and make any contingencies as necessary. It also gave us the opportunity to meet up with location manager Marek Jones, village events manager Gareth Wire, and hotel and revenue supervisor Gareth Owen Jones. Now, these three people in particular have been of immense help and assistance to 601 over the years, and it has been an absolute pleasure to work with them. What else have I done within the society? Well, I took on running the society website in 2013 after Larry Hall stepped down from the team, and I have done this until very recently. I'm really pleased that 601 team member Gary Murphy will be taking this on, so it will be in safe hands moving forward. But I think my main labour of love has been organising and arranging guests to appear at our conventions in Portmeirion. This has often been full on and has necessitated insignificant amounts of time being spent on it over the years. Sometimes guests weren't always available when we invited them for various reasons, or they weren't sure about us. But I always carefully persisted and kept in contact with them, sometimes for years, and eventually I usually managed to secure them as our convention guest. It has been a privilege and absolute pleasure to do this work, and even more satisfying to have secured particular guests that some people said we would never get. I've always thought if you don't ask, you may never know. So the main process has really been about developing a friendly and respectful rapport with potential guests over a period of time. And I'm doing this, of course, without appearing to be pestering or stalking them in any way, hopefully gaining their trust in 601 and what we're all about. When I look back through the last 20 years, it's truly amazing the variety of guests we have been fortunate to have at our conventions during this time. Many of them have also been first-timers to our convention in Port Marion, so that's really been the cherry on the cake. Now, if I was asked who my favourite guests have been, well, that is very difficult because they've all been brilliant in their own unique ways. But I have to say my absolute favourite has to be Catherine McDougall. She was fantastic from the word go. I'd been in contact with Catherine for approximately 18 months, carefully communicating with her and gradually earning her trust and developing a relationship with 601. When we knew she was coming to our convention in Port Marion, we were ecstatic and overjoyed. As I mentioned, she was a fantastic guest and wholeheartedly supported our society. I think she was very moved and touched to see what a genuine and sincere group of people we were. Catherine really threw herself into our convention, and during her 3 mammoth interview sessions, she talked extensively and openly about her father's career and her own career. We have stayed in close contact with her, and she enthusiastically continues to support 601 and has a deep fondness for our society. She once told me that she thought her father, Patrick, would have been very touched and humbled with the sensitivity of our appreciation. Another favourite guest has to be Darren Nesbitt, who was our special guest in 2015. For those members who attended, they will know exactly what I mean. I was never quite sure how he would respond to being interviewed, particularly about the prisoner. Well, we needn't have worried, because from the second he was introduced to the audience and joined Dave Barry on the stage, he totally took over the session. It very quickly became an audience with Darren Nesbitt sort of presentation, and it was absolutely brilliant. You would have paid to see his performance at a theatre. I think Hercules Hall was the fullest I've ever witnessed, as Darren captured the audience with his unique humour and his many stories and anecdotes about his life and career. I have to say, I doubt we will ever see anything like this again at a convention, unless we invite him back, of course. Darren totally immersed himself into our convention. He freely wandered around the village, stopping to talk and have photographs with members, which was really nice. He really enjoyed going AWOL during the weekend and was often found to be with his lovely wife, Miranda, enjoying some nibbles and a glass of, how he described it, lemonade at some of the members' lodgings. He was a wonderful free spirit. Finally, I think I must mention Bettina LeBeau, who was our special guest in 2013. She was truly a lovely, special person, and it was an absolute privilege to get to know her. During the Second World War, Bettina was separated from her parents and was held in a Jewish concentration camp in southern France. She managed to escape from the camp and was helped by her family who hid her from the Nazis. Bettina came to Britain in 1945 after the war and attended Pitman's College. She went on to a wealth of careers, including acting and modelling. She often had a tongue-in-cheek boast of, "You name it, I've done it." When we met Bettina, she was a sprightly 81-year-old and involved in her latest venture of public motivation speaking. She was also in the process of writing a book for schools called Hide and Seek, which covered her experiences as an 8-year-old Holocaust survivor. One thing I particularly remember about Bettina was she had this aura about her. After just a short time in her company talking with her, you somehow felt filled with a feeling of positivity. She was a very special and unique person indeed. There are many people we would like to thank. However, I would probably need another 20 minutes to mention everyone. So I'm going to single out a few key people who have contributed so much and assistance over the many years of organising and staging conventions. I would have to start with Robin Llewellyn and Mairead Jones. They have both provided great support to 601 over the many years, and Portmeirion have bent over backwards on many occasions to help us stage our conventions there. Mairead has been invaluable to 601. He is always a very much hands-on person, and his enthusiasm for what we do is brilliant. A metaphor for Mairead would definitely be top bloke. Many thanks also go out to all the staff at Portmeirion who have been so accommodating and helpful to 601 and its members over the years. We must thank 601 team member Ian French, who has chauffeured many of our guests to and from Portmeirion for many years. He probably doesn't realise how grateful we all are and how much stress he has taken away from us. Ian also continues in his role of outdoor reenactments organiser, recruiting members to fill the many acting parts for all the outside events at conventions. So a big thank you to Ian. I can't go any further without giving thanks to our own 601 Mini Moke family. Member owners have been bringing their mokes to conventions during the last 20 years, and the presence of these iconic vehicles has really added to the atmosphere of the visual impact of our event. They have also provided photo opportunities for society members and the public, and many of our moke owners have also provided free taxi rides around the village for 601 members during the convention weekend. So, without further ado, we would like to thank brother and sister team Andrew and Kate Turford, convention stalwarts Chris Spooner, Wayne Langford, and not forgetting fellow village guard Andy Douglas, Jules and Simon Athorn, Phil Upshaw, and of course Craig Walter. We have also been very fortunate that some members who own Lotus Caterham 7s have brought them to conventions on occasions. So a massive thanks to all these people who have enhanced a fabulous event each year. As I mentioned earlier, it would take far too long to thank everybody, but we would like to thank some main contributors such as Tim Bourne, indoor host and team member Andrew White, indoor hosts Craig Walter and Teresa Mackenzie, and for anyone who's ever experienced a perforated eardrum, we must mention Brain Bash assistant and event contributor Sarah Jenkin. Many thanks also to Nadine Coffey for being 601's official photographer for many years, and also for allowing us to use her photos in the Society magazine and on our social media sites, and particularly for producing many convention slideshow presentations. I believe Nadine is going to be involved with the Sunday night end of convention party for the next convention. This is good news because Nadine has the flair and enthusiasm for this kind of thing. Just rewinding slightly, I was talking about slideshows at convention, and we must also thank regular contributions from Jan Davis, Ant Brearley and Debs McDougall. I know there have been other contributors, but these three have been at the forefront of this for many years now. And a mention has to be given to all those lovely members from the UK and abroad for playing roles in the outdoor reenactments and travelling theatres over the years. Equally, we must thank all those members who have contributed to conventions before, during, and particularly those members who submitted items for the convention each year. Without you, there would never have been any prisoner convention. That's how important you are. We currently have a wonderful society magazine called Orange Alert, and it is the sort of quality you would find on the magazine shelves of stores like W.H. Smith's. We have Dave Coffey to thank for this, and long may its success continue. We must also thank Roger and Karen Langley, who have contributed so much to the 601 group since the new administration team was formed in 2000. They have regularly produced news stories and prisoner-related items for the Society magazine and regularly submitted items for the convention programme. And finally, I must mention and pay homage to Dave Barry, one of the founding members of 601, without whom none of this may have ever happened, and many of us wouldn't have been able to appreciate the prisoner in the way we have. We also wish Dave our very best wishes for the book he is currently writing, which we can't wait to read. It's going to be an absolute mammoth of a book. From what Dave describes, it's going to be a very informative insight and written a totally different approach to past books about the prisoner. So can't wait, Dave. Finally, the four of us send our best wishes to the current 601 administration team as they take the society forward. We know it's in good, safe hands with people who care and are passionate about the prisoner, 601, and of course Portmeirion. It's been a long and winding road for Rob, Mandy, Debs and myself. I have to say mostly it has been very enjoyable and a real pleasure, and we now look forward to attending a convention as ordinary members again, sort of full circle really. It will be really nice to be able to watch all the events properly, take some photos and videos, talk to friends, and probably quite importantly, enjoy a nice Portmeirion ice cream or three. When you reflect on being a member of 601, for me personally, and no doubt for many members as well, it has brought friendships from all around the world. We have met people who have become lifelong friends. Some members have become more than friends and ended up married to each other or have become partners. In fact, Debs and I met because of the prisoner and the conventions in Portmeirion. None of this would have ever been possible if both the prisoner or 601 had never existed. I remember talking to Catherine McGoon about the same subject, and we both agreed that it is part of the legacy her father has left us all with. So not only did he create probably the best TV series ever, he also created something that manifested into friendship and love. I think Catherine was very proud and gracious of this realisation. So, from Rob, Mandy, Debs and I, we hope everyone enjoys the 601 virtual event today, and we look forward to be seeing you in the village sometime soon, hopefully in 2023.